In the ruins of Gaza, where shattered concrete meets the horizon and the air tastes of dust and defiance, there lived a boy named Yasin, a name as quiet as the alleys he roamed, as strong as the will that pulsed in his heart. His world was not drawn in colors, but in grays and blood-stained browns, where the lullaby of each night was the distant thunder of falling bombs, and the flicker of light came not from candles, but from fire in the sky. His father once told him that the olive trees would return one day, that the sea would embrace them again, that boys like him were born with something unbreakable. But Yasin did not wait for peace. He carved it. With fingers too young for war, he gathered broken wood from collapsed rooftops and metal scraps from fallen fences, shaping arrows as if crafting prayers, silent, sharp, and swift. Each arrow he made bore more than its weight in metal. It carried a piece of his story, of his longing, of his voice. And in secret corners of the city, where shadows whispered and hope wore a keffiyeh, Yasin became a legend. The arrow from Gaza, they called him, not because he fought, but because he refused to disappear. His arrows did not seek blood, they sought memory. He tied messages to them, scraps of poetry, pleas to the sky, verses written in charcoal when ink ran dry. He launched them into the sky at dawn, not to harm, but to remind the stars that Gaza still breathed. One message read, "I am still here." Another, "We are not just headlines." The children who found them held them like relics, passing them from hand to hand like sparks of belief. One boy cried reading Yasin's words, another painted them on the wall of a shelter, and the arrows flew further, across streets, across ruins, across hearts. Mothers kissed them, fighters took them into their coats. Even strangers from beyond the blockade began to hear of him, the boy with the arrows made of rubble and hope. Yasin's world was shrinking, but his message was growing. Every sunrise he climbed to his rooftop with quiet steps, careful not to wake the ones still dreaming. His little sister Layla would often sit behind him, her hair uncombed, her eyes wide with wonder. She once asked, "Do your arrows reach the sea?" Yasin smiled and whispered, "They reach farther than the sea." And she believed him, because in a land where belief is all that keeps breath warm, children become prophets without knowing. As the days passed, his fame spread like smoke. Other children began carving their own arrows, inspired by his quiet defiance. They formed a circle, not an army, but something deeper, a movement of spirit. They met at night, shared stories, and planned where to send the next message. They called themselves Sahabat Langit, friends of the sky. Each arrow carried a different truth. We danced before the bombs. My mother sings louder than war. We are not broken. Soon, murals of a boy with a bow appeared on battered walls, his face hidden, his message clear. But the silence would not last forever. The soldiers came, as they always did, with boots like thunder and machines that screamed. They searched homes, interrogated fathers, and tore down shelters. Someone had told them about the arrows. Someone feared the voice of a child more than bullets. They found Yasin's rooftop, but Yasin was not there. He had hidden beneath the broken solar panels, his breath shallow, his bow clutched tight. They found some arrows, read the messages, and laughed. Words. One soldier scoffed, "He fights us with words?" But Yasin knew. Words live longer than guns. That night the city trembled again. Airstrikes shattered another school, another bakery, another story. Yasin walked through the rubble barefoot, searching for more wood. He didn't cry. He didn't speak. He simply worked. Because when the world becomes ash, some choose to rebuild, one arrow at a time. Days turned into weeks. Layla grew quieter. Her drawings lost color. Yasin worried she was forgetting how to dream. So he made an arrow just for her, carved her name into it, and wrote a note. "One day you will fly higher than this arrow." He shot it westward. The wind caught it, and for a moment it danced like a bird unburdened. A photographer in Rafah found it. He shared the note on a forgotten corner of the internet. It was translated, reposted, shared across continents. Arrow from Gaza, the post read. A message from a child who still believes. People cried, people raged, people marched. The world, so often deaf, turned one ear, just one. But that was enough. Yasin never heard of the post. He had no access to that world, but he felt something shift. Strangers began sending in materials, paper, pens, wood. Someone smuggled in a package with feathers dyed red and green. His arrows became more than tools. They became art. Then came the darkest day. A missile struck the house next to theirs. Layla was injured, her leg broken, her voice lost for 2 days. Yasin did not speak. He stayed beside her, held her hand, and stared at the ceiling. For 3 days, no arrows flew. Gaza waited. And then, at sunrise on the 4th day, Yasin climbed the tallest building left standing. It had no roof, just sky. He stood there, surrounded by ruins, by ghosts, by silence. He held one final arrow, carved from the beam that once held their kitchen window. On it, he had written just 2 words, "Still here." He drew back the bow, his arms trembling, and released. The arrow cut through the morning light like a call to prayer. It soared. It vanished. No one saw where it landed. But somewhere, far away, a girl in a refugee camp found it lying beneath a fig tree. She read the message. She showed her teacher. That teacher wrote a poem. That poem was read on a stage in New York. A journalist heard it. A filmmaker called it fate. A movement was born, not to rescue Gaza, not to politicize its pain, but to remember it, to speak its name, to see its children not as numbers, but as boys with bows and girls who once dreamed of flying. Yasin never knew. He disappeared that winter. Some say he was taken. Some say he crossed the border. Some say he walked still, barefoot and defiant, carving arrows for the next boy. But Layla remembers. Every year she writes a message on an arrow and releases it at dawn. The children call her the flame. And still the arrows fly. Still the sky receives them. This is not a story of war. It is a story of what survives it. It is not a tale of politics. It is the tale of a child who chose to speak when the world fell silent. His name was Yasin. He made arrows from the bones of broken homes. He made hope from wood. And when he disappeared, his message remained. Still here.